December virtual event. We were supposed to be in, we were supposed to be at the Argosy. They had a beautiful banquet room. We had it set up in January of this year and full bar and food, but you know, here we are. But we got, if you have your glasses, you got to put your glasses on.
I don't have mine on.
Do we have to wear them the whole time? I thought I just said at the beginning.
You can kind of do whatever you want, really.
They were giving me a headache.
Yeah, really.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Lori. Where's your picture? Girly girl.
We can't see your picture.
Can you show a picture? I'm out. You know how guys that go out and take care of dogs, German Shepherds. So I've got Balto here. Come here, Balto. Here. He is a 97-pound boy. Just came in this week, and he's going to hang out with us and listen to the seminar and have a glass of wine with us.
He probably needs a glass of wine. So
well,
your group, it's moms, right?
Yes, Missouri German Shepherd Rescue.
Yeah, German Shepherd Rescue.
Monday through Friday, about 4 to 6, I come out here and get them out and let them go to the bathroom and then feed them and all. So I've done some exercise and I'm going to have a little happy hour and then I'm going to go in and take care of them. So I thought I'd bring him out. He's such a calm, sweet dog.
Yeah. All right, well, we're going to get, I'm going to put you on mute for a minute just because we can kind of hear a little background. But I don't know what I was going to say. I was going to say something. But anyways, welcome to our Fairfax virtual event. Hopefully one of these days we're all going to see each other in person again. I'm really missing everyone. I think everyone's missing everyone. We really should do some type of pool. I don't know how you do it. Maybe someone can help me on what month we think we'll be able to see each other back in person. So North Kansas City Hospital, Michelle Lane is our speaker, and she's going to talk about complaining, which I thought would be perfect for the holiday season and being 9 months into COVID and all that stuff. While we drink our wine or our beer or our water or whatever beverage choice you have, and then of course you got your little fun glasses, and then you saw Kellogg's. Kindly, like Monday, I sent an email over to Tracy. She's awesome over at Kellogg's. She's the assistant to the plant manager. I'm like, hey, Tracy, can we get some Cheez-Its? Because that would go great with wine, because, you know, it's cheese and crackers, right? Cheese, crackers, wine, beer, snacks, whatever. And so, so hopefully you enjoy your Cheez-Its. It was very nice. She donated a whole bunch of them. My nephew picked them up for me, and he was super excited. He's like, I have so many Cheez-Its in my truck right now. But, and I think most of you probably met my nephew, Davis, if you picked up your gift bag. So that's where I have my business, my salt business. Davis works for me. He's my nephew. We have a lot of fun together. And that's where Fairfax headquarters is too. So trying to think. Oh yeah, we also have, don't let me forget at the end, we have a few door prize drawings. I've got 2 Amazon gift cards, and I also have from the Argosy Casino. They donated an overnight stay at their hotel, and I think I didn't write it down, but it was like 2 of their dinner certificates at their steakhouse. So you'll be able to use, I mean, they're kind of open, but they're not, you know, fully open. But once the vaccines are out there and we're getting back to normal, you'll be able to take full advantage of it. So make sure you use your chat button to introduce yourself of who you are and who you're with, and if you want to say anything. And this is a pretty casual event as we drink our beverages, and it's 4:30 in the afternoon. Hello, Mike Martin, our president of Fairfax, is on. Mike, did you get your gift bag?
I picked it up the other day.
He
There's
knew
my glasses.
He knew I was going to call him out. I'm like, put on your glasses, Mike.
I had it on earlier, and then I had to walk around a little bit.
I get it. So, so Mike is with Capital Electric, and he's the president of FIA, and I believe will be continuing on as president next year. And we are going to continue with the same board members for next year. But if anyone's ever interested in participating on the board, you have to have a business or property in Fairfax, but just let me know. And with that, I think I'm going to turn this over to Michelle, who is, like I said before, they are sponsoring, which is paying for our wine and snacks event today, and also our speaker. So, and then Michelle, when you need to share the screen, you should be able to share it. Oh, we gotta take you off mute. There you go.
All right. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I love that there's so many of you that are showing your faces. So I don't know if any of you guys have ever spoken in front of people before, but it's so nice to like see people's faces, because I think I'm kind of freaking funny and I prefer to see people laughing and like being engaged. So feel free to turn your camera on, but I also understand if you're, you know, you don't want to and you're scared or whatever, that's all right. Or you're doing something we don't want to see. I understand that too. So let me just share my screen really quickly. And then I'm going to just talk a little bit about kind of what I've done for you guys in the past and some information I want you guys to know. So one second, we didn't test drive this. So let me see what I can come up with. This could be interesting. Okay. Are you guys able to see that? I don't see you anymore.
Oh, you know what? And I usually just turn this over so you can just see the speaker.
Yes, I can see it.
You can't? Oh, thank you for whoever spoke up. I appreciate you. I don't know who that was.
I can see it too, Michelle.
You can't? Okay, good. All right. I'm a fan club member for both of you since y'all spoke out. So my name is Michelle Lane. And can you guys see me?
Yes.
Oh, good. All right, good.
Yes.
All right. So I am lucky enough to be a nurse leader at North Kansas City Hospital. I absolutely love this hospital. We are a sponsor, and we'll talk more about that later. That's not really why I wanted to talk to you guys. We were already coming to talk to you, and she was like, hey, we need a sponsor. And I'm like, yeah, we'll do it. No big deal. But I love getting in front of people and sharing the information that I learn. I am an absolute avid learner and researcher and reader, and my bedside table looks like a recycle bin. I love research and journals. And so I came to you guys, I think it was pre-pandemic, a year ago, and I talked to you about some of the research that I did about the science behind happiness. And, I enjoyed the crowd. It was a great group of people, really interactive. And I know this kind of changes the dynamic a little bit, but I hope you can still appreciate the message that I'm gonna, give you guys today. What we're going to talk about is a little bit more on the serious side than the whole happiness thing. We're going to talk about what I call another virus. This was research that I did way prior to COVID ever hitting, and it may be too early to even call something a virus, but I dove into research about complaining. What I noticed is surrounding me at the hospital, and even in my home life, even myself, there's a lot of complaining and a lot of negativity. And I really wanted to find out more about that. So just like I did with happiness, I dove head in, right? And I found over 250 research articles about complaining, its effects, negativity, pessimism, all in that kind of same little gene pool of thoughts. And I threw out any information and research that was biased, if there was a payer source that I thought was sketchy, or the N was really small and there wasn't a lot of people in the study and I didn't think it was really valid. And I got down to the root of complaining. And I read some really good books, one of which is A Complaint-Free World by Will Bowen. And he is actually a Kansas City guy. I don't know if anybody knows Will Bowen. You can talk about it in the chat, but he's a rock star. He is married to my yoga instructor, but he was on Oprah Winfrey. He was on Good Morning America. Like, it's a best-selling, 150 countries published, great book. And then the other piece of what I got interested in about complaining is some research that's being done at some universities and through some positive psychology researchers. So what we're going to talk about today is a virus, I call it a virus, that can cause a heart attack. It can cause you to have a stroke. It can take years off of your life. It is so powerful, complaining is, that it causes your hippocampus in your brain to shrink. And you can mimic behaviors like Alzheimer's, like irritability or not wanting to socialize with other people. All of this can be caused by complaining, what it causes to our body. Why it can cause a heart attack, a stroke, and those types of things is because it causes a stress hormone called cortisol to run in our bloodstream. And that breaks down the vessels of our blood vessels. And unfortunately, that's how you get the risk for heart attack or stroke. So complaining makes you wired for negativity. It makes you look for and attract problems. You know, it can make you, according to the research that I found, and remember, this is like significant research, at least 30 research studies said that if you were a complainer, that you had a higher likelihood of being divorced, a lower financial status in your community, you had a lower number of friends, and this all makes sense, right? Nobody wants to be around complainers, but the data is real and it tells a story. So the average person complains about 15 to 30 times a day, right? And I think that most people are completely unaware that they're complaining. I like to say that complaining is like bad breath. You know, you see it and notice it on other people's when it comes out of their mouth, but you don't necessarily notice bad breath when it comes out of your own mouth. And that's kind of the way I think about it. So today I want to share with you how you can identify complaining and maybe the reasons that the person might be complaining. So then you can change your behavior and adapt to meet their needs, and they'll stop complaining around you. But most of all, what I want to teach you today is about how you can control your own thoughts and your own headspace and stop complaining, because that's ultimately the one person that we can control. So we're going to dive right into this material. But I want to make sure that we're all on the same page when we talk about complaining. So there's a definition up there on the screen, but I think moreover, it's easier when I just describe to you the type of complaining that I'm talking about. Complaining that we're discussing is not when you have a problem with your computer at work and you call the help desk and you share the problem and you ask for resolution and you know it's a little nice communication cycle. That is not complaining. That's not what we're talking about. What I'm talking about is the problem where people go to work and complain about their spouse, or they go home and complain about work to their spouse. They're not complaining or talking directly to the person that can solve the problem that they have, right? Like the easiest way to think about this is like you go to a restaurant, okay? And I love 54th Street. Like I'm a #1 fan club member for 54th Street. Their tortilla soup is amazing. So I ordered the tortilla soup, right? And it comes out cold. So I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, of course. Notice how people use the word of course. Of course is a very powerful 2 words. It's this, you know, the world revolves around me and I'm a victim, that the soup is cold. Like I always come to 54th Street and it's cold every single time. The waiter comes over to the table. How's everything going? I'm like, it's fine. She walks away. I don't say anything to her, but then I, you know, complain about this cold soup to my friend about how I come to 54th Street, they never get it right, blah, blah. That's the complaining that we're talking about. The world revolves around you. How dare this happen? That's the complaining in this scenario, okay? There's no ego involved in telling the server that my soup is cold, right? One way that I like to transition into telling somebody something is like, hey, you may not have known, but my soup is cold. Do you mind reheating it for me? So using that key phrase, you may not know, is a way to like segue easily into, you know, sharing information that may be, you know, hard for some people to share. But that's the definition of complaining that we're going to talk about today. If you remember my talk that I did about a year ago, these 2 talks are like best friends. They really kind of go well together. And what I talked about then was the science behind where happiness comes from. So just as a refresher course, I just want everybody to remember that 10% of your happiness is determined by your circumstances, right? So more, less than what people really think, people that have had some sort of adversity in their life actually are happier, according to the research, and at least 30 research studies. Remember, I was looking only for real data. I'm only going to tell you like the good stuff. So the evidence shows, and the biggest studies came out of University of Minnesota, like a bunch of twin studies, that, your circumstances, you're used to them over time. This is why you can see those commercials with the starving children, like for GoFundMe type of things. And they've got these big Buddha starving bellies and these little eyes, and they're smiling and dancing, and they're literally starving to death. But they're happy because they're so used to their circumstances, they don't know any different. So the researchers say that 10% of your happiness comes from your circumstances. 50% of your happiness comes from your biological determination. So genetics, right? Those chromosomes that we get from our parents. That's a pretty big chunk, but it is what it is. And there's not much you can change that. That's, your genetics, you're stuck with it, right? I say that every time I look in the mirror. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got the Bowerly nose. Holy cow. You can line up every sibling in my family. I come from like a litter of children, and all of us have this like Bowerly nose. It's the same thing. Happiness has a set point in a genetics. They found the chromosomes that tie in to what makes your neurotransmitters that causes happiness. So 50% can't control it. It's your genetics. But the hunk of our happiness comes from us, right? The framework, our thoughts, our actions, our beliefs, the way in which we look at the world really determines our own happiness. And the easiest way for me to exemplify that is by telling a story of when I was on a plane. I went to go fly somewhere, and this is pre-COVID, right? Before we could fly. We don't do Christmas presents anymore. We just go on a trip every year. So we were going on our trip, and there was a delay in the flight, and they notified us prior to boarding the plane. And when they came on the announcements, they shared that information, and you kind of felt a little bit of energy, a little deflation with the group all waiting for the plane, but everybody's still kind of excited. And we get on the plane, we board later. It was only like a 45-minute delay, and it was a good legitimate reason. The plane had gotten in late before, and there was a certain amount of time period that people, the pilots and the people on the plane, must sleep. It's in whatever regulation. They needed their sleep. I want a well-rested pilot. Fine. Get on the plane, and the pilot comes on, the loudspeaker again. He's like, ladies and gentlemen, we've found a problem and blah, blah, blah. We're going to be holding on our takeoff. Then you felt the energy shift in that plane, right? The guy next to me immediately starts fumbling around all angrily and getting his phone out and, picks up the phone. Yep, of course. Notice that, of course, right? Of course. Plane's late again. Sleeping Beauty had to get sleep. Now we've got some problem. Yeah, I don't know when I'm going to get there. Didn't even say hello to the poor person on this other end of the phone, right? I mean, just dove right into complaining about the situation. And, I don't know when I'm going to get there. I'm not even going to be able to meet with the client. We may not even get to go on vacation. I don't even know if I'm going to get there. And hangs up on this person. It was a horrible conversation. I was cringing, literally cringing in my seat. Oh my Lord. Well, then the guy on the other side of me starts rustling around like, oh, heard this guy's phone call. I better call somebody too, right? So he gets his phone out and he's like, oh, hey, hon. Yep, we've got a delay. Yep. No, I don't know when I'm going to get there. I'm so glad they figured it out before we took off. I love you. Hangs up the phone, right? Same situation. Two people in that framework in which they view this situation is how their life is unfolding, right? You've got the victim over here, this guy that's like, oh my gosh, the world revolves around me. I'm the victim of every situation. And you got this other guy of like, these are the facts, right? And my reaction is the only thing I can control. Why would I cause myself to have cortisol dumping into my body and stress and anger and this, that, and the other? So that's the best way I can share, exemplify how we control our own happiness. Well, one of the other things and why I went down the bunny trail of this complaining thing is this negativity and pessimism and complaining showed up in the data about happiness. And so I thought, I got to check this stuff out. So I took a bunny trail over, and this is what I'm going to share with you today. So There was a really great study done in University of Maryland, and it shared with us that there are about 20 to 60,000 thoughts a day that run through your mind, and 85% of those thoughts are negative. And of those negative thoughts, 90% of those are repetitive. So we're continually having these negative conversations with ourselves about whatever it is. And so that's what we have to change. That's the habit that we need to make a difference about. So we are going to dive right into this information. And I can't see you, but if I'm talking too fast or you can't hear me, just come on the loudspeaker and do like universal sign of choking or something like that. And then I'll know to slow down or you can't hear me. So one of the first problems with complaining is it focuses on the problem and not the solution, right? I mean, we all go to work and we have meetings because there's a problem, right? And so you go to these meetings and you talk about the problem, you talk about the problem, you talk about the problem. Everybody's basically complaining about this problem, maybe a little conversation about a solution, but you're still just focused on the problem. We got to move away from that. We've got to focus on what it looks like to have the problem fixed and then move backwards from there and not focus so much on the problem, right? So this is seen a lot in venting. When people are venting to you, when they say, oh my God, I got to vent, and I'm just as guilty. So recognize the fact that I'm not like on some high horse. I'm actually sitting folded up like a little Indian in my chair, not on a high horse. I complain just as much as anybody else, but now I'm cognizant of it. And so I'm really working hard. But venting is absolutely focused on the problem. People that say they want to vent basically just want to focus attention on themselves. They want to share this negative experience with you. They want to show their anger and their frustration. And all they want really out of you is validation. So when people come and they vent, they just want you to validate them. They don't want you to come up with solutions. I'm the girl that's like, oh, did you try this? Or blah, 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 right? No. When people are venting, they're on a roll, baby. They just want you to go, man, that's bad. That's real bad, right? So venting is harmful because venting is negative. There was a bunch of research done out of Duke University about complaining and what it does to other people. And in the form of complaining that they used is this venting, right? So people were venting to each other. Horrible, absolutely horrible results on the person's cortisol levels that they checked in their lab work. And then also just in their self-expression of like, I feel bad, I have low energy, this feels negative. So complaining absolutely focuses on the problem. It's also really damaging to our health. So one of the things that I, of course, am so interested in since I'm a nurse, and I don't even know if I told you guys that, but I am a nurse. But my first job, my first career path was in psychology, and I worked as a social worker at Marillac Center for Children. I love psychology. I think it's absolutely fascinating. And I did that for a little while, but then the social work aspect just is really, really hard. And I felt like I could make a better impact in the healthcare field. So I went back, got my nursing degree, got my advanced practice degree. And so that's how I got to this position of me being able to talk about this with you. Melissa didn't just find me randomly on the corner of some street and say, hey, yeah, we need a speaker. So I've got legitimate cred to what I'm talking about. But complaining is so damaging to your health, right? So there's a guy, he used to have migraines his whole life. And he would come home from work and his wife would say, how was your day? And he would say, oh, on a scale from 0 to 10, my headache is about a 6. And if you notice, his wife didn't ask for the headache report, right? She asked how his day was. And this gentleman read the book by Will Bowen, That Complaint-Free World, and he kind of took that to heart. And he recognized the fact that maybe he was just running out of things to say to his wife, or there was a lack of connection. And so he filled the void with this complaining, automatically complaining, and sharing how his headache was, right? Because he had chronic migraines. But he decided one day, I'm not going to talk about my headaches anymore. When I come home, I'm done. I'm gonna change it for 30 days. I'm not going to complain about my headaches. And it worked. And this man has been migraine and headache free for 7 years. And he is actually the CEO now of that Will Bowen, that speaker, the author of that book. He reached out to the author and was like, you changed me. And the way you taught me to think has changed his whole life. And so, yeah, he's the CEO of the company. Your body and your mind are absolutely connected. Whatever you say, your body hears. Your body is going to give you something to complain about if you're constantly complaining about your body. So it's very damaging to your health. Complaining is bad. So we know complaining is focused on the problem. It's damaging to our health. Guess what else it's damaging to? It's really damaging to relationships, right? So however we describe somebody, there's a neuroscience, it's neuroplasticity. I don't know if you guys are kind of into this like top of science research, but there's a lot of studies going on about neuroplasticity. And one of the things that it's teaching us is that we form a story in our head. And so just without even thinking about it, we look for things in our lives that support our story, okay? So if you complain about your spouse, and I'm guilty, and the story I can share about this is I used to go out for margaritas with a group of girlfriends, and we called it, group therapy, and we complained about our partners, right? Whoever it was. And, for 2 hours we would complain, and it did not surprise me that, when I got home, that I was complaining to my spouse, and because I would see his socks on the floor and like, oh my God, how his socks fall off in the living room. I have no idea why they can't make it to the bed. But I had talked badly and complained about him for 2 hours. So I walked in the door and immediately I'm like, oh my God, seriously, you put your spoon in the sink from your nightly ice cream bite. Why can't you put that in the dishwasher? Because I am supporting the thoughts that I'm having, these bad, negative, complaining thoughts about him, instead of coming home and recognizing the fact that he watched the kids, and he watched the kids every Thursday. So I could go out and hang out with my girlfriends, right? I mean, how about some appreciation? He had made dinner for the kids. He had done all these other things. But since I was busy complaining, that's the mindset, this negative mindset that I was in. So I actually think it was part of the reason I got divorced, is because I had this negative mindset. Very damaging to our relationships. Very bad for our health. Focuses on the problem. And it also limits your career success. I have never seen a job description that said must complain frequently, right? I mean, like, that's not something that people ask for. I had the best lesson early on in my career. I worked at a local hospital, not North Kansas City Hospital. I will repeat, this is an amazing hospital, but another hospital that I no longer work at. And I wanted to work in the ICU. And I was a new grad, and I got hired onto an ICU, which is very rare for a new graduate to be in the critical care unit. But I was so thrilled, and I wondered why there was these job openings, but that's part of the story later. I worked with the most skilled nurses. These girls were so smart, so smart. But that culture was absolutely toxic. The patients were immediately the person that the nurses complained about when they walked into the break room. It was like, oh my God, that took forever to give that bath. He would not roll over. Or the wife kept telling me about her neighbor's dog, complaining, just absolutely toxic. And despite the fact that these were really smart, talented nurses, our outcomes were horrible. Patient satisfaction was horrible. Turnover was horrible. And what ended up happening was that leader got fired. So we got a new nurse leader in. It was a gentleman, and he picked up on that culture right away. And he set expectations about positivity and not complaining. He just made it point blank. We don't grow weeds in this garden. And he developed a policy about negativity and complaining about our patients, ourselves, each other, the doctors, and he held people to it. And it was the most amazing job experience after that. I left for other reasons. I moved, so I will tell you that. But this can limit your career success. People that complain, you're not looking for people like that. I'm a nurse leader at this hospital. When I go to hire people, I don't look for skills. I don't look at like, oh, can you use these softwares? I can teach that. I can absolutely teach that. What I interview for is soft skills. Can you make a connection with another human? Can you express empathy? Can you apologize for your mistakes? Can you grow? Can you learn? I only interview for soft skills. My interviews are so different that it would shock you. Actually, there's a girl on this call, Casey Quintanilla, I'm saying her name wrong, and I hired her. She works at North Kansas State Hospital, and I interviewed her, and she could probably attest after I'm done talking that that interview was an original interview because I was looking for specific soft skills. Complaining will limit your career success. So we've talked about why complaining is so bad for you. Why the heck are people complaining then, right? Dr. Robin Kowalski out of Clemson University did this amazing work about complaining. And he came up with 5 reasons why people complain. Okay, so I'm going to go through these 5 reasons and the little ideas that I came up with on how we can meet people's needs so they'll stop complaining around us. I'm going to share with you. I don't have all the solutions, I will tell you that, but I've learned some things along the way and with the books and the podcasts and stuff that I've learned. But I do want to tell you though, before I go any further and we go into the reasons why people complain, you're probably going to cuss me in the next following couple days because you're going to notice complaining more than you ever had in your whole entire life. It's going to be like, you know how like everybody used to smoke? I mean, even like when we did our 50-year anniversary celebration here at the hospital, we were going through old photos, you know, of the hospital. And I found pictures of like the doctor and the nurse, you know, smoking on either side of the patient who was smoking, who was probably there for shortness of air, right? That's probably why they were in the hospital and everybody in the room is smoking. So like back then when everybody smoked and then now nobody smokes, you rarely see it. But if you go to Europe, everybody still smokes in Europe. It's going to be like that. Complaining is going to be like that for you. You're going to notice complaining, the funk that is around you, and you're going to curse me. I know it. So number one person, let's dive in. Number one reason, not person, that people complain is to get attention. We are humans that love connection. I love the work coming out of Brene Brown's whole entire gamut of books, podcasts. If you are interested in this type of topic, Brene Brown is amazing. She's a social psychologist who's done tons of work about connection. And so what happens is we want to be seen. We want to, you know, be heard. And so you're in the elevator, right? And it's awkward and it's silent and there's like 4 people and you're all really close to each other. And it feels uncomfortable until somebody complains, right? Until somebody complains about the weather or the elevator taking too long or the pain they're having in their foot or the Chiefs game the night before, right? So we use complaining as a way to connect instead of just saying, hey, you know, see me. Like we need that tattooed on our foreheads, right? Because once somebody complains about something in an elevator, you feel the energy relax, right? And you feel like it's okay. It's a little bit better. You know, we've all seen each other. We've recognized each other. So number one reason people complain is they're unable to really start a conversation. And so what I've memorized and I let just roll off my tongue is what's going well today, right? What's going well? I hop in an elevator. It's a bunch of people I don't know. Automatically I say, hey guys, what's going well? You know, people come to me and complain. I say, oh, what's going well today, right? They look at me kind of weird and I just kind of repeat myself. But you know, when people come to me and complain and I ask what's going well, I win either way because either they think I'm a weirdo and they're going to stay away from me or they tell me what's going well. So it's a win-win in my book. So memorize that. What's going well, right? And use that instead of making a complaint that you just are trying to connect with other people. So simple thing you can do. Second reason people complain is to remove responsibility, right? I see this sometimes at work. So you've asked somebody to do something, get a report for you, and the person fails to do it, right? It doesn't happen. And you ask them about it. You're like, oh, hey, what happened with such and such? And immediately they start talking about Kate, that works in marketing, you got to fill out that request about 1,472 years before you need the project done. And then Suzanne has to, approve it. And they start to complain about the situation surrounding it to remove responsibility on why they didn't get it done, right? Why they didn't just work around the problems, push through, and make it happen. Because that's what we needed ultimately, right? So, this is kind of tough, but you kind of just have to like stick with people and say, yeah, I get that. I hear what you're saying. But despite that, how can you still make it, complete? How can you get it done, right? If it were possible, if you didn't have to deal with, marketing and this, that, and the other, how do we get it done, So you're going to see it. People are going to complain to remove responsibility from themselves. And you're going to be like, oh my God, she's complaining to remove responsibility from themselves. Third reason people complain. So this is inspire envy. So in our culture, it is, I call this like the humble brag. It's against culture to like brag about the new, great thing that happened to you, but you can complain about the thing that happened to you that was so great and accomplish the same task, right? Like I found myself complaining about my new iPhone, right? I'm like, oh my God, there's 5 cameras on this and I don't know how to use it. And, basically when I thought about that later, I was complaining just to get attention to kind of share that I got a new iPhone, but I didn't want to walk in and go, I got a new iPhone, which is what I really wanted to do. But instead I used this whole complaining technique to, to share my great thing that happened to me instead of just saying, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I love this, right? So inspire envy is one of the reasons that people complain. So it's kind of like bragging. This is also why gossiping can be seen as complaining. I know this is kind of confusing, so like stay with me. Like I'm going to grab onto you with like a rope and you're going to just hang with me as I try to explain this. But when you gossip about another person, and I'm guilty, so freaking guilty, so not talking from a high horse whatsoever, you're really complaining about that characteristic and you're bragging that you don't have that bad characteristic, right? So I drive my cars like I stole them, like literally, like I drive so freaking fast. And when I'm driving with somebody that they're probably going the speed limit, probably, it drives me freaking crazy. All I do is complain about it. And I feel like gum wrappers are passing us. Like it's the worst experience ever for me. And I recognize the fact that I'm complaining about that driving because I'm the opposite, right? I drive too fast. So, or somebody I say, Leslie is always late for work, right? I'm complaining about Leslie, being late for work, but it's kind of gossip, right? And so how you solve that problem, if somebody is saying, oh my God, did you see what she was wearing? You compliment the opposite. They're really looking for a compliment anyway. So when people say, oh my God, did you see what she was wearing? I say, oh my God, you know what I love about you? You dress so cool, right? Or if somebody says, Leslie's always freaking late, I say, you know what I love about you? You're always on time. They're looking for a compliment anyway. They're fishing for it. They're bragging that they don't have this bad characteristic. You might as well just upfront compliment them, move on with your day. So that's the third reason that people complain. Next reason people complain, power. We see this in our country about every 4 years, and I am not talking about the Olympics, okay? So people complain about each other for power. You see this a lot in families, but you can see it a lot in work too. So like my example is that my Uncle Brian and my Aunt Marcy, they complain about each other all the time, and it's for power within the family. It's the firstborn daughter and the first son, right, of the hierarchical structure in our family. So they complain about each other because if it comes down between Uncle Brian and Marcy, they want you on their side, right? They're gathering troops to support this in case something shakes out and that you need to make a case against the other person. They're complaining about the other person, so you like them more, right? So you're complaining for power. The best way to handle this situation is to stay out of it, right? Like I said, I come from a litter of children. My mom was really good at this. We would all complain, my brother, my dad, my all the time, right? You know what? And my mom used to always say, sounds like you guys have a lot to talk about, right? So if you're the leader in this situation and people are complaining about each other, you say, sounds like you guys need to sit down. You got a lot to talk about. If you need help, I'm more than willing to sit down with y'all while you work it out. But you guys you need to talk. You got a lot to talk about. That's it. Don't pick sides. Be Switzerland. Stay out of it. When people are complaining about other people, it's an unadult thing to do. As a leader, you don't need to get involved. It ain't your business, but you can mediate that situation, right? These are adults and they need to get through their mess. So, fourth reason people complain, for power, right? Fifth reason people complain, so guilty of this one, it's to excuse their poor performance. I have tried golfing, like I've got this, a boyfriend, and he is this amazing soul and he loves trying all these new things. And he's like, let's go golf. And I'm like, sure. We go out there and I'm kind of hooked. I've had a couple really nice hits. I'm a bit addicted to this thing because you hit the ball good a couple times and you're like, yeah, this is great. So when I'm golfing now, if I have a ball that slices to the left, immediately I'm thinking in my head, oh, my grip is bad. The sun is in my eyes. He sneezed in my backswing. I am complaining to excuse my poor performance, basically. So it's to kind of make myself, I tell myself these rational lies, basically. It's rational lies on why I poorly performed. So the best thing you can do in this is just really say, think to yourself or ask somebody else how you can improve next time. I really don't have a good solution to this. I don't even like that solution, but that's all I got at this point. I'm working on that, okay? Because I am bad at complaining to excuse my poor performance. So those are the 5 reasons. And if you notice, they spell out the acronym GRIPE. So 5 reasons people complain: get attention, remove responsibility, inspire envy or brag, power, and then excuse poor performance, right? So I think almost all complaining falls into one of these 5 categories. I will warn you that some people are like complaining ninjas, and they can complain and, to like brag about something and for attention and to remove responsibility all at the same time in the same conversation. I mean, definitely some ninjas out there. So these are the 5 main reasons that people complain. And you need to notice too that complaining is a competitive sport. I chuckle now when I am in a conversation and I see this happen because I recognize it happening. Somebody complains about something and then the next person has to kind of like out complain them. I tripped and broke my toe, and like, oh my God, really, I'm such a klutz. I fell down and broke my ACL, and like it escalates. So like, it's competitive sport. You don't like say next, oh yeah, and I smudged my fingernail, right? It escalates. So it's just, one more reason why we should cut complaining off quickly before it escalates into a whole bunch of negativity. So I've talked about why other people complain about you, gave some pointers, best as I know, on how you can meet people's needs and get them to stop complaining. But the one big thing that you have control over is you, right? I mean, we can only fix ourselves. And ultimately, that was what I got out of my data. It was that I control me, I control the framework in which I look at the world. And I needed to do something about this. And so being the absolute nerd that I am, I had to have some sort of like theory to like set across this. And I came across this hierarchy of competence, and it works so perfectly. So right now, before you heard me talking about complaining, you were probably unconsciously incompetent. You didn't even know that you complained all the time. You didn't know the reasons why people were complaining, if it was bragging or just to get attention or whatever, right? But now you are going to move into that next stage, which is conscious incompetence. You're going to notice the complaining. You're going to notice when you start to gossip about somebody. You're going to notice when you say, hey, I just want to vent and spill my negative energy all over you, right? You're going to notice. Then you're going to get this conscious competence where you shut your mouth and you maybe don't do those things and you don't complain about other people. You try to control what you're saying. and the way in which you communicate to other people. I mean, having a complaint-free life isn't just like letting things happen to you. It's having conversations when you need to have conversations, talking directly to the server, talking, when you have a cold soup, talking directly to your husband when you have a problem with, or your wife or whatever, you have a problem there. So I thought this hierarchy of competence really kind of set well with trying to change your habits and trying to become more of a complaint-free person. I will tell you, one of the tricks that Will Bowen shared in his book that I tried, and I think it's helped me a little bit, but he said that you learn things in 21 days and you have to connect your mind and your body. And so he suggests that, you wear these bracelets. A lot of people may have seen them, a complaint-free world bracelet, or what I did was I have this bracelet. I'm a John Muir fan. If you don't know who John Muir is, you need to chat with me after, because I am the card carrying member of the John Muir fan club. He's the guy that found national parks and talked Teddy Roosevelt into having national parks in our country. But we went to his home where he lived, and I got this bracelet, and it's so meaningful to me. And it's just a cuff bracelet like this, right? And it hurts me to put it on and off. And so what I did was, you're supposed to notice every time you start to complain, and you either switch the bracelet from hand to hand, a stone from a pocket to pocket, and you connect your mind and body to like, oh, I complained. And so every day you start over and you try to stop complaining and notice, that you're doing it. Oh my gosh, for about 2.5 months, it was day one. I was constantly moving this bracelet. I had like a raw spot on my wrist. I mean, people thought I was probably having like suicide attempts or something. It was a mess. And so I stopped hurting my wrist because it was damaging, but I did keep going with that process. And instead I moved to this little turquoise stone, which is really, really small and fits in my pocket. And what I did was I put it right here at work in front of me, and it's sitting at my desk. And it's just, when I look at this, I think about trying to be positive and not complain. So that's what I've got as far as your own trick, do it yourself. So I've talked a lot, right, about complaining, but I really want to have, a discussion and want to hear about your feedback of what you learned today and if you've ever tried this before. And so I would like to stop sharing, but I do want to just say that if you were interested in this type of talk, North Kansas City Hospital, we have got, this is like my plug for sponsorship, our occupational health and wellness services. We do so much more than drug testing and pre-employment physicals and, the basic injury care. Like, we do that, and we do it really freaking good. But we also do wellness. We do talks like this. We coach and teach people how to give feedback and still manage a relationship. We do biometrics. We figure out if you have a population that is diabetic. We've got a great program called Sweet Success. We've got all sorts of great things. So that's my plug. Done. Okay, so universal sign of choking. I'll quit talking about what we do, but I'm telling you, we've got a lot of people that can attest to the work that we're doing. I'm going to stop sharing because I want to see your little faces and have a discussion about what I've talked about. Okay.
Hey, Michelle.
Yeah.
Michelle, Diane Smith here. I have a question for you.
Okay.
As far as I am mother-in-law, 2 daughter-in-laws. We
Okay.
have issues between the 2 daughter-in-laws. Is it healthy for the mother-in-law to be the mediator? When you say, look, thank you. All right.
No, unless she's skilled. Unless she is skilled and she can navigate that conversation in a very Switzerland way, it's not going to be the healthiest thing, because you've got to stay out of it, and you've got to mitigate your risk of picking a side in that situation. And also, she wants to manage that relationship with them. It's not about her. It's between them. So, yeah.
What would your suggestion be for something like that situation, though? Is this a professional that steps in, or is there somebody within the...
I don't know the dynamic of the family.
Right.
I mean, but you can absolutely have a professional step in. I don't know if one of them has an EAP at their work. How there's like those, like New Directions is ours, and we have 6 free therapy visits for any, you know, reason. And so you could meet with the therapist and then have that mediated thing, and it would be free if one of them has a EAP program. But, you know, also just finding somebody that's not emotionally charged with the situation, you know, because that can take it down a bunny trail. You know, coming from a litter of children, you can get all sorts of like other things dragged into that stuff, and that makes it not
Okay,
helpful.
good. Just want to confirm my feelings for that.
Yeah.
They were asking me and I said, oh, no, not me. No.
Right. Good for you, girl. That was probably difficult, right? To like say, not me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes and no. But yeah, I'm smart enough to see where that would take me. So.
Right. So when
Down
I
a
was
bad
showing
rabbit hole.
yeah, when I was showing my slides, was the talk helpful at all? Like do like this, or was it fine? Okay. I couldn't see you
Very.
guys.
Hey,
Okay.
Michelle,
Yeah.
Tara sent a question on her, on the chat. Tara, you're still on here, aren't you? Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I'm on here. So Michelle, I know you mentioned that sometimes people just call you and they just want to vent all over you. And how do you handle if somebody, I flat out have people either at work and in personal who will call me or come into my office or whatever and say, I just need to vent. Well, I mean, okay, it makes them feel better. So I let it happen, but I'm like you, I'm a solver. I want to solve that problem. And sometimes that just angers them because they're not looking for a solution. You're muted.
Yes, because when people are venting, they clearly are not looking for a solution. And so this is the part that is so difficult for us, but this is really about self-care. This is about understanding that they're kind of using you in a sense to, you know, unless there's a situation, you can ask that. Is there a problem that you'd like me to help you solve in this situation? And if not, why don't we talk about what's going well? At like, hey, what's going well is you got to just get it rolling off of your tongue and say, you know, like somebody comes in, and it happens in my office too, and they'll say, oh my God, I got a vent. And I'll say, I know you do, and you want to get this off your chest, and I totally understand that. Is there anything about what you're going to share to me is something that we can solve together, or are you just going to like dump on me? Because I got my own stuff, you know? And then let's really focus on finding a solution, and let's talk about what's going well, right? And it is so hard, and people look at you like you are cray cray in the beginning. I mean, they're like, really? But what happens is they'll either quit coming to you to wanting to vent, they'll find another victim and you've taken care, or, you know, they're going to quit complaining and they'll say, oh my God, they'll recognize the fact that like, yeah, maybe that is super negative, and like that doesn't solve a problem. I'm only creating more negative energy by complaining and venting. You're in HR, I know you. So you probably have a situation where, you know, people want to come in and complain about coworkers, right? And so that's how you reframe that question. Is this something that you're sharing with me as human resources and I need to know? Like it's a concern that I need to address? But if you're just going to be dumping, you're seeing negativity on me, you know, I got my own sea over here, I'm swimming. You know, I don't need yours. So
Yep.
does that help at all, or does that sound too?
No, it does help. I mean, I do have it at work, you know, being in HR, but even like a few weeks ago, I have a daughter who lives down in Sedalia, and she called me one morning just complaining that her trash day kept changing on her and she didn't know it. She kept missing her trash day.
Yeah.
And she just like spewed it all. I mean, I'm driving to work and she's just complaining about how she missed the trash pickup. And then she's like, okay, I got to go, and hangs up. And I'm like, but now I just put me in a really bad mood and I couldn't do anything about it.
Right. So as humans, we've got to hold people accountable that are around us, right? And remember that piece of your happiness, 40% of it comes from the way you look at things, the way you view things. And so part of it is trying to get your daughter to reframe and say
Right.
like,
We had a conversation later about it.
right. It's like, yo,
And she
sister,
apologized, but yeah,
right.
it was just,
you are not going to be on your deathbed complaining about this. This is
Yeah.
not going to come up in the
No.
top 3.
right.
Oh yeah, let it go. Let it go. Anybody else? Good.
Michelle, I have one more question. It's Diane Smith again.
Yeah.
You keep saying, you know, no venting,
Uh-huh.
but it's out there that venting is good for you. It relieves. So instead of venting, should we tell people go journal it? What's the answer to that? Because you need to get rid of this, but maybe not vomit on somebody else with it. What's your recommendation?
Right. So emotions, think about emotions like tunnels, right? They're a tunnel and you have to get all the way through that tunnel. And when you stop and you're just focused on negativity and venting, you're not working your way through that tunnel of that emotion. And that's a problem. Venting nowhere in the data, nowhere in the research shows up as a healthy thing to do. And if you want, I can send you the research articles that show the exact opposite. That venting, those people that have something they need to vent, need to find a healthy way to deal with whatever's bothering them. They need to find exercise, have sex more, write in a journal, whatever their go-to is to get rid of that, like, right? Pet your dog, eat cheese dip. I mean, I love cheese dip. I will slather myself in cheese dip when I get stressed out. Yep. Drink wine. Yes, Debbie. Yes. So the venting is an unhealthy behavior. It causes your body to dump cortisol into your system, which puts stress on the vessels, which puts you at higher risk for cardiac disease and stroke. It is physically in the data. People that vented in these studies, they checked their labs afterwards, their stress hormone, boom, baby. And when your stress hormone goes up, your immune system goes down.
Yeah.
And that showed up strongly in the data. People that are negative, complainers, and pessimistic got sick quicker. They did studies across time with Duke University medical students, and they found with these students, they checked their immunity levels over time with times of stress, with tests and finals, this, that, and the other, and then times when they were going on break, doing all of these fun things. And with stress, those immune fighting cells in their body directly correlated with them. So stress, venting is just, it's just, so off with its head, people. Find a good, healthy way. Eat. No, I'm joking. Don't do that. I exercise. I looked out. I'm an exerciser. I love trail running, but I can also attest, my coworkers down here in the bottom, I also have shown up in splints and like on crutches and like all sorts of stuff from like just going out and running in the woods and falling on my face and crashing. And yeah, so find a healthy way.
Nature is a good.
Yeah.
Can I share from a man's point?
Yeah.
This
Hi,
is Marshall
Marshall.
Dominguez. Hi, how are you? Thank
Good.
you. First of all, very good topic tonight.
Oh, good.
Appreciate that. I work at the college, KCK, Kansas City, Kansas.
Yay.
Community. And I don't have to deal with the students, thank God. But I do have to deal with businesses and, coworkers too. But in a personal aspect, I've had to deal with both men and women where I'm just the sounding board. Funny because when I was married, I would do the same thing to mom. I noticed that she wouldn't say a word. She would just give me a little, and that was it. She'd let me vent. But now sharing, I heard a minute ago, where should we let them vent? One person, I said, that's enough. Quit talking to your mother. Every time you get off the phone, you complain. Now, we were pretty close. We were close. And then the next one, I didn't say, oh, and by the way, she did stop complaining. I think it just put a stop to it. I said, you get upset, you this and that. And I said, just stop talking to her. She kept talking to her, and which was great. That was fine. But the next one, it was like right when I'd get on the phone, start the clock. And it was constant complaining about anything and everybody. And I just sat, so, and I'm sure it is toxic for us that we're trying to be the peacekeeper, if you will.
Right.
Because I was also one that was told, you don't say a word, you don't this, and I'm just listening. So anyway, I was just sharing that it's from a man's point where see what happens at times.
Michelle, being in sales and a salesman is always supposed to analyze a sales call, but that power of positive thinking is something that you have to teach yourself. And it is so important to look at the positive aspects. And if you start that at a young age, it will manifest upon itself and make life more enjoyable. So I applaud you on everything that you've said today.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
The struggle is real though, people. The struggle is real. I will tell you, this is not like, something simple, but that positive framework is so valuable because that's the lens in which we look at the world. And so it's so important.
I would just like to comment that I've been in sales my entire life. Started selling cars when I was 14 and I'm 84 and I've never done anything but. I would say that I've had as many as 50 car salesmen working for me at one time. And there are no successful salesmen that are negative. It just can't be done. You're either a positive person, you carry that through your life and into your business and into your work. You're not going to be successful. I've seen a lot of people with a lot of skills that could have been very successful, and they let their negativity take them down. And it's a shame.
Well said.
Yes, absolutely. That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah, the happiness talk that I give is similar to this in a sense that it talks about how valuable it is to choose happy for your health, to choose happy for, all of these reasons. I mean, it's really good stuff. But I can send these slides over. The big takeaway is recognizing, when people are complaining about you and you'll be in an elevator, tomorrow, you're well, maybe you just walk to your living room for work tomorrow. I don't know. I mean, maybe you'll be at the office, but you'll notice it and you'll be like, oh my gosh, yeah, we're just trying to connect with each other in this elevator, right? So just try to do it in a positive way. But I appreciate everybody's time. Thank you so much for listening to me gab, and it was a lot of fun.
Well, Michelle, thank you so much. You are always so fun to listen to. So the gal, Casey had emailed to register, and I'm like, don't you want a gift bag? She's like, no, I just want to listen to Michelle. She's so awesome. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. So I really, really appreciate this. And it's funny, I was being so negative at the beginning of this week, and it was just, everything was like, and as soon as I like, okay, you cannot have, as soon as you have a negative thought, you have to redirect. And then I just started feeling better, and everything just got easier. It's like when you're negative, you're just constantly trying to push, a big boulder up a hill. It just doesn't work. So thank you so much. And thank you for sponsoring to offset our costs for the gift bags. I'm like, we got to do gift bags. We got to do something. So did you all enjoy the gift bags?
Yeah, when you asked us to sponsor and you said, yeah, we're going to do wine and beer for the gift bags, I said, yeah, we'll pay for that. That's perfect.
I know. That's okay. Like, it's healthy, right? It's a healthy, thing for the hospital. But, we got cheeses and gifts, and it's the holidays, and it's nice to see each other. And speaking of, so we have 3 drawings. And so what I'm doing is, I have everyone's list. So I'm going to do our door prize drawings. And the first one is going to be the gift certificate to the Argosy for their overnight stay at their hotel, which is really nice. And I think it's don't hold me, I know it's 2 meals. I think it's at their steakhouse. And I'm sure you can use it like once everyone is vaccinated and COVID free, and hopefully we really do need to do a poll on that. Okay, so the winner of that is Diane Smith. Congratulations, Miss Diane Smith. I say come on down, but you can't. Okay, and the next one is a $30 gift card for Amazon. And I looked up, Michelle, while you were talking about the author Will Bowen, A Complaint-Free World. So, and I already downloaded on audio. So when I'm driving, I like to listen to things like that on audio. I already downloaded it, so that's my next thing to listen to. So we have 2 $30 gift cards to Amazon, and I'm gonna flip this list around, so I have no idea. Let's see, Sharon Ramsey. Sharon, you're there. Hello. Okay, so I'll email you the gift card, the Amazon. I can just email it to you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And then one more. Who will it be? Who will it be? Oh my God, I landed on myself. Okay, hold on. I really am not kidding you. That's hilarious. It is Nate Harris. Nate, you're on. Are you still on? Oh, there he is.
I am on. Thank you.
Way to go, Nate Harris. And then I've got Sharon Ramsey. I'm writing this down so I don't forget. Everyone have a happy holiday. Merry Christmas. The vaccines are coming. We're going to get through this. And I think we're all going to appreciate the most important things after this is all set, and that's relationships and seeing each other and hugging each other and all of that. And I'm gonna we'll recap, like this is a recorded, so we'll send that out, probably have a recap and send out next week. And there was something else. Oh, I'm putting together, it's taken me forever to get to it, but I'll send out a Fairfax update, just projects we've been working on. Despite COVID, we've been super busy with just lots of issues in Fairfax. The really positive one is that the monument signage, we are under contract for that to be built. We cut back. We're only going to do 3 of the towers first, but I'll have all the details. But that is happening. The first time in 100 years. Yay! Fairfax District is going to have really cool monument signage at 3 of the main entrances, and it is really happening. Been trying this for 20-some years, so super excited about that. So
very cool.
I know, it is cool. Thank you. So I'll tell you. So I'll get the email together. Make sure you read it all. But it will be updates on all the different things we've been working on. So thank you all so much. Have a great time. Be safe.
Merry
Happy
Christmas,
holidays to everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Michelle.
Merry
Christmas. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks for the
Happy
gift
holidays.
basket, Melissa.
Thank
Merry
you.
Christmas.
Melissa, thanks for
Bye-bye.
everything you did for this.
Oh, you're
Yeah,
welcome.
thank you, Melissa.
This was fun. It was great seeing you all.
Thank you so much.
Caleb, your dog is so cute. I think that's
She's
your
been very
eventually.
invasive. She's been very invasive the entire video.
Well, you know.
We can't show more
She
of
is-
her.
She's an attention hog.
Where did you get? Is she a golden doodle?
She is.